What's up, everybody? Marvel the Cross 316 back with another comic book flashback. And today, folks, we are looking at Ultimate Spider-Man issue number 64. Today's title is Carnage Part 5. And we're going to be looking at the conclusion to this story today, folks. Spider-Man and Carnage here. We're not really going to see Spider-Man in this issue. We're really going to be seeing Peter Parker fight Carnage here. And so, pretty cool stuff here. Carnage, totally different in this universe compared to the regular comic book series of, Amazing Spider-Man in that universe. And so we left off on a bit of a cliffhanger. From last issue, we saw that Peter Parker was confronting Dr. Kirk Connors about what the heck did Dr. Kirk Connors get himself into? Why did he take the blood sample of Peter Parker and cause and create this monstrosity? And while they're talking, there's a rustle in the bushes, and here comes Carnage, and he's right after Peter Parker and Kirk Connors, and he's like, "Connors, what have you done?" Connors like, what does it do? What does it do?" And then he's like, "Dude, what does it do? How is it killing people?" All of a sudden, while they're talking, remember that face that we saw in issue number 62 when Carnage had killed Gwen Stacy? Well, that face is now reappearing, and like I said, I think it looks like Peter Parker. But what we see here is, what we're going to find out is this is not really Peter Parker, but more like a clone of Peter Parker's dad. So that's pretty cool. But anyway, we see that, and he's like, "Oh, what in the world is that?" And he keeps saying, "Bleh, bleh." And all of a sudden, Carnage launches out one big strike here. It looks like he's about to plunge right into Peter Parker. Peter Parker dodges out of the way thanks to his spider-like reflexes. And we see here that we're going to see one heck of a fight in this issue, folks. This is going to be crazy stuff. He tells Dr. Kirk Connors to go and destroy this. Get back to your lab, get in your car, and back to your lab. I will meet you there with this thing, and you better have a way to kill it. Because if you don't, I'm throwing it in the room with you and locking the door. He said, "Go!" And so Dr. Kirk Connors gets in his car while Peter Parker is going to fight Carnage right outside of his home here. Surprised that it doesn't wake up Aunt May. And so we see that they're going to fight right on the rooftop. And the neighbor's like, "Hey, shut the F up. It's 4 in the morning." And so we see Kirk Connors gets in the car and he's going to leave while Peter Parker is dealing with this monstrosity. Will he be able to make it out alive? And so he's like, "Man, I am so tired. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. Why am I doing this to myself?" And so, like I said, one heck of a battle here. He says, "Stop it." And we see they're going to continue to fight here. I mean, this is even more dangerous than I think Venom. I think Carnage is even more dangerous than Venom. And we see that he's dealing pretty much with a clone of his dad. It's crazy stuff. And so we see these two officers, they're coming out at Dippin' Donuts, getting some donuts here. And we see that, unfortunately, we see Carnage is going to crash right into their car, and he's going to kill both of these officers while Peter Parker's trying his best to get the officers out of the way. Unfortunately, Carnage hits Peter Parker, causing Peter Parker to be too far away to help these officers, and these officers are going to be killed on the spot here by Carnage. So 2 more people at the hands of Carnage, and this is where we see, I mean, it looks just like Peter Parker, but like I said, this is not a clone of Peter Parker, as you'll soon find out. And so back at the lab, Dr. Kirk Connors is like trying to figure out what the heck he's going to have to do when all of a sudden he notices that Peter Parker's already made it back to the lab. How is this possible? Well, we're going to see here that Peter Parker's going to tell Dr. Kirk Connors everything that what transpired. Basically, we see that what happened, it grew, it formed, it grew itself into something that I knew I meant. All right, it grew itself into something that I knew meant it was either me or it. It was either me or it. It wanted me. And it was only then and there that I understood why. I understood it needed me to live. It looked like I needed to constantly rebuild its damaged DNA matrix by feeding off people. I think it needed me in particular because we share DNA. That's why it was at my house. I don't know if it knew that's why it was coming at me or not, but when it was completely formed, that's when I saw what you had created. At first, I thought it was a damaged version of myself I was fighting, but no, it wasn't. I saw its face. It was my father. He said, what did you do? He said, I had to do what I had to do. I went up to the smokestack, and remember, this is very reminiscent of what happened when Peter Parker threw that Venom suit into that smokestack, remember? And so we see that he's going to have Carnage plunge right into that smokestack as well. But while Peter Parker's getting himself back up, we see Carnage gets a hold of his foot here, and he's trying to pull Peter Parker down with him. But Peter Parker is able to get out of the way, thank goodness, and Carnage perishes in the fire. And he said, "Oh, Peter, I'm so sorry." And Peter's like, "Sorry? You're sorry? You murdered those people. You did this. You brought this into my life, and I trusted you. You killed Gwen." He said, "You killed Gwen." And so now in the morning, we see that Dr. Kirk Connors is going to do the honorable thing, and he's going to turn himself in. He says, "My name is Kirk Connors. I'm a professor at Empire State University. I think I accidentally murdered these people." And Jean DeWolf's like, "Yeah, how so?" So we see at 7:42 a.m. Mary Jane is going to go check on Peter Parker, and what we're going to find out, the shocking revelation here, that he is done. He is done being Spider-Man. He tells Mary Jane this. He said, "It's over. No more." And so we see that Ben Riley, that is Kirk Connor's lab assistant, is going to come, and he's going to find out that his lab has been completely, it's going to be shut down. He's lost his job. Kirk Connors is going probably to prison. And we see he's like, what can I at least get some of my stuff out of the lab? And yeah, go ahead. And so what he's going to do then is what we find out is he had another Parker sample of his blood that he didn't tell Kirk Connors about. And so now Ben Riley is in possession of the Carnage suit. Oh my goodness, folks. There is another Carnage suit. And so this won't be the end, folks, of probably not seeing Carnage. We'll see Carnage in the future. But what we do know, so what we found out in this issue is that the original Carnage died in the fire in the smokestack, but we also know that Peter Parker is done being Spider-Man. So are we even going to see Spider-Man pop up next issue? That's the big question. We'll have to find all this out as we look at the next issue, which is Detention. I don't know what that's about. We'll find out in the next issue. But go ahead now, comment down below what you liked about this issue. What do you think is going to happen next? Do you think Peter Parker is going to be hanging up his Spider-Man suit for good? Or do you think he's going to get it back out because of more dangers, like the Ben Riley having the Carnage suit now? And so that's what we got to figure out. Go ahead, comment down below, like this video, and subscribe if you have not, and I will see y'all in the next one.